Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This time I would like to show you one of my last models that have a quite long period of assembly. Usually this is a model that I can finish in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, working seriously on them. But in this specific model I had some personal issues and problems that make it last for nearly 20 years. The original box was the V1 provided by Hasegawa, that model, and it was featuring an F-16A plus Fighting Falcon. Plus I wanted to make it in the Italian version, so I take from Italian kit the fin, the modification to do the Italian fin. It was a leasing that Italy made in the beginning of the 2000s, where they were switching from the F-104 to the Eurofighter plane. So Italy took a leasing from US Air Force and from America basically, and they hired these planes for nearly 10 years. And in 2012, all this model was given back to the Americans, and we took the Eurofighter. So I started with the purpose to make it like an Italian Air Force plane, like one of these I don't know uh, how many planes did the Italian Air Force took from America, but the modification was basically about the fin and the markings, of course, and these were provided by at the time Italian kits, and the shape of the bulge around the fin was different, a little more smaller in the real plane instead in the, I don't know if you can see it from here, because the resin is hidden down there, but the resin is quite thicker. It's also quite tricky to make the fitment between the upper part of the rear fin and the fuselage. Now it's a tricky point because in the F-16 everything has to be quite precise and quite straight, as you can see. You see, very easy to make that not exactly perpendicular to the base of the model, even more with my hands of 22 years ago. So for me it was not so easy to use it. Then I wanted to do a little too much, so I took the even Italian kits decal that were also wrong because he made the number in black while the numbers used by Italians were in gray, not in black. So I have no use for this decal sheet. Yeah, exactly, what are you thinking exactly? And then I had the Verlinden production set to super detail, they say at the time, to super detail the F-16s, including the Vulcan panels open and the avionics open. So this was a kit plus I forgot to mention the IRS cockpit. These kits both have very bad issues of fitment inside the plastic. They are quite famous. Verlinden was famous to oversize the part, and IRS is famous not to make them fit inside the cockpit. So you have to work a lot, and plus they also provided the possibility to make the radome open to show up the internal radar. But when you do such work on planes, you completely lose the shape of the plane. So what I want to see is the shape of the F-16, because in my opinion is one of the nicest plane, and is the main bone of the American Air Force. So is a must to have in a collection. This is a work under request, so this is for a guest that committed it like a American plane. So I had to backdate it into the first version. Thanks God I saved the basic part of the fin. I didn't trash it when I made the original cut 20 years ago. And so I had to rebuild the model as it was in the beginning, fix the air brakes, because I made it open in the first idea, and try to make it fit in the proper way. So the model is excellent. Hasegawa made this model, I think, in 1987, and in 2023 now to look at this model is impressive because they really made an excellent work. The model is absolutely well done in details, extremely precise. I cannot show you now because I placed the frame inside for the opening position, but also the cockpit fits perfect. You have completely the bulge of the cockpit, that is a tricky part in the F-16, completely well done. So it is not like Italy kit with the horrific fitments in the fuselage and so on. This is absolutely much more precise. Maybe the negative point is always that Hasegawa nearly force you to buy extras sorry, extra set for the weapons. So if you need extra bombs, extra missiles under the wing, you have to buy an extra box that costs like the model. And probably is the only negative feature of this plane. Something important is that I wanted to do an F-16, but probably not in the A version like this one was, because basically the F-16C is the most common version of the F-16 today. You know, it was the platform that was updated, like the F-18 that arrived until today. Probably they were making this plane in the mid 80s. I think the F-16C started to be in service in 1985, something like that. Instead, the first version of the F-16A started to be in service from 1980, if I'm not wrong, or 79 indeed, you know. So it was really the very, very first version, and I was lucky at the time because the very first version was indeed the version chosen by Italian Air Force to make the version. But as I said, with all these issues between the decal, between the part, between the montage, I completely lost any appeal to finish the model. It lost any volunteer to complete it in the Italian markets, even more because in 2012 they were all given back to the US, and so the plane didn't have neither some smart or some cool livery like Tiger Meat and so on. They were just the leasing, so it was stuff just borrowed from them, and so the usage was really, really tricky. They had also several accidents in the Italian. They were old machines, you know, just painted as the new one, but nothing in common with the F-16C, you know. So it is different because the fin in the F-16C, the basic of the fin is much bigger, much longer, and the main air intake is bigger, so I have a different shape. You cannot make an F-16A looking like an F-16C. That will be a huge mistake. So I simply completed it with the decal options, you know. Then I made all the fitment with for the headwear part. As you can see here, there is missing the head-up display that I will use and I will apply later because the model have to travel. And the leather, you know, this is all part that they provide in the box. So this is the avionic doors, that is the head-up display, the nose pitot, a nice leather. This is not an extra kit, this was also included in the box. I just made it thinner for the handle, and the side winder on the side of the wing. So it's quite simple configuration, but it is what I wanted to have. Despite it's a committed model, I wanted to build up the most common American plane ever, you know, and making like an easy build. I was just frightened between saving it or trash it because I completely lost any volunteer, any clue to finish the model in a proper way and with the Italian colors. Instead, it was, I think, really well saved. The overall look is taken. I could also work a little more, much more than the Italian version, with a little colors, you know, because the American planes were at a little slightly different color than the Italian one, a little darker, you know, while some F-16C can be even more darker in the upper side of the plane. And it looks like an F-16, so I completely fall in love with the machine at the end, and I like it so much. You know, it's extremely speedy in the look, and looks nice. Looks nice. My tip is just, if you have these early boxes from Hasegawa, just enjoy as they are. Don't do like I did to hope to improve them with too many extra sets, because then you just will end, as I did, probably something too big for my capacity at the time, you know, to finish it in a proper way, and I had to wait several years to see it completed. But at the end, I think it's worth it. You know, the model is really looking nice, and little weathering. These are modern planes, so you cannot make heavy weathering. Just basically the paneling lines and so on. The basic configuration with the fuel tanker, and that's it. That's it. For me, it was anyway a lovely, lovely build, and it's absolutely suggestive for anybody loving the United States Air Force. Thank you, guys.